Parliament. And as we speak now, it's time to talk about anti-corruption because social media in the last few hours has been awash with outrage over that decision by management of the Bulk Oil Storage and Transport Limited, BOST, to procure 18 iPhones for staff of the state petroleum storage company. BOST, in an official statement, is now admitting to procuring the phones, except to say that BOST believes the purported cost making rounds on social media is highly inflated and false as we know it. So joining us is Kweku Asante has been doing some checks for us, joins us in studio with details of what it is that has been said about this particular iPhones for staff of BOST. This is strange, by the way. But let's get to, first of the cost, correct? Because BOST is contending, the
in fact, just around the weekend, there were rumors swirling around social media that BOST had purchased these iPhones for a cost of about 28 million Ghana cedis. So this BOST statement does not contest the fact that these iPhones have been bought for its board members and some senior management members. It actually says that the price is different. So let me take you through the statement as has been put out. It says that the total cost of the phone stood at 234,000 Ghana cedis and grossed out to taxes and everything. The amount is captured in the financial report. They say that the reason for the purchase of the devices was to equip the team to stay in touch with the management information and business intelligence systems of the company for efficient decision making. In the petroleum storage and transportation space, a split second can make the difference between success and failure. So, BOST admitting that they had to buy 18 iPhone 13s for some of their senior management members and board members because they wanted to stay in touch. And like you said, a lot of comments coming in from social media is, what phones were the board members and management members using before this, and couldn't they stay in touch with that? So the main statement that just came out from BOST is to say first and foremost that yes, we've bought the phones not for 28 million Ghana cedis like has been alleged on social media, but 284,000 Ghana cedis. If you do the math, that's a unit cost around 15,000 cedis, iPhone 13 and other things. So that is the response from BOST, that it was important to link up management and board to stay in tune and be contacting each other every now and then. I
see. But of course, these purchases were not done this year. That's the official report.
It was bought in 2022. If you look at the public procurement authority's approval to BOST to be able to do this. In 2022, this approval was given, the phones were bought. So this is 2022. And in fact, there are those who are making the calculation that in 2022, iPhone 13 did not cost that much and all that. But these are questions that have been asked in terms of social media and even mainstream media. Those who are asking about the propriety of a struggling company like BOST, who has been making losses over the past few years, spending that huge sums of money to buy iPhones for board members and senior management members who are already drawing salaries, drawing allowances, and why they're not buying these for themselves. Even questions about, will they hand these phones back to the company when it's time to leave, or this is something that they're going to keep as their property? The questions are coming, but this BOST statement responds to two of the main issues. One, that we did not spend 28 million Ghana cedis. We did spend 284,000, and it has been working so far for us to keep management and staff in tune to be able to deliver on the issue.
Okay, now the essence for which even the phones were purchased, for communication, do we know what sort of communication? Because, the reaction is, why purchase these phones if the sole aim for, carrying out the exercise is communication? What's the statement?
Yeah, if you look at the statement, if you look at paragraph 4, it says, the reason for the purchase of the devices was to equip the team to stay in touch with the management information and business intelligence systems of the company for efficient decision making. In the petroleum storage and transportation space, a split second can make the difference between success and failure. And they claim that the results so far is there to show, because since they bought this phone for management and board members, they've been working well, gelling together, and they are delivering results for the company. Of course, if the Auditor General audits them later on, it will be good to see whether or not this is actually true and it's working or not.
Yeah, but the phones, I mean, the essence of it, they're not really explaining their
Yes, all that they are saying is that these phones were to enable management and the board to stay in touch, and they quote, management information and business intelligence system. So these phones is to allow BOST to stay in touch with this system. And the question to ask again is it only iPhones at that extraordinary cost that is going to allow management and board to stay in tune. Of course, BOST does not answer that part of the statement, only to say that, well, it is working for us so far, and we think that we've made good investments.
Okay, there are some more points that have been raised on that statement now, but let's also bring in Adam Sedano, who is co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, monitoring all of this. And there are integrity issues coming up, Mr. Sedano, about why, first of all, BOST would want to buy iPhones for their staff. I mean, what do you make of the clarification coming through? They, first of all, dispute the figures. Quickly, what's the figure?
Yes, 284,000 Ghana cedis.
284. If we do the breakdown, they should just about 15,000. That's enough, at least, to purchase a smartphone.
What do you mean 15,000 is enough? It's way overboard. I mean, come on. If you went to the market and we did a 3 invoices thing, and you wanted to find a suitable phone, anything between 1,500 and 4,000 will give you an excellent phone with all the features you need.
This is BOST we're talking about. It's a very strategic state agency.
Come on. I mean, is that a prudent use of our resources? Don't forget that the price buildup includes a BOST special levy. What it tells you is that if they did well last year, it's simply because the people of Ghana at the top have had to pay much more. And we're not expecting that we'll pay that much more so that you go and buy iPhones for 15,000 Ghana cedis. That's corruption. That's an abuse of entrusted power for personal gain. That should not be allowed.
Okay, just hold on for us briefly. Kweku, the reason they're giving now, let's probably read that.
Think that again. They say that the reason for the purchase of the devices was to equip the team to stay in touch with the management, information, and business intelligence systems of the company for efficient decision making. We must instruct, it's instructive to know that this was single sources.
So that's the explanation. Strategic reasons, intelligence driven.
Come on. What is strategic about that?
Right.
Which kind of phone today that you can get between 1,500 and 5,000 that won't allow you to be... I mean, it's all about having the app on the phone. You need to connect to anything in any system. It's about an app. Don't get confused with the English language that is trying to sound more technical than they really are technical. There is no justification for the resources of this nation to be used for 15,000 Ghana cedi phones. Somebody must be held accountable. And I really don't see how a procurement process in any entity, which is state, where we have public servants who are supposed to be servicing the people of this country, and they say they've taken the money out of the special levy. All these years that BOST has not been doing well. For the first time, they are doing well because you had a special levy added to the build-up in the cost that we are paying. And you don't wait to sustain that, and you are using the benefit from that for yourselves. Really? Kind of responsible citizenship or responsible leadership does that?
The purchases were done last year. Some of the opinion that a lot of water has gone under the bridge. Let's just forget about it. Let's move forward, but ensure that BOST does not go into such businesses again.
Well, I think that the best practice is always to go back. An unexamined life is not worth living. You need to reflect and check. It is only when you find the places where you've made the mistakes and plug those gaps and ensure that they don't still exist for others to exploit, that you can be sure that going forward, it will not repeat itself. So let's not pretend that nothing happened, forget about it. No, you need to do a drill down, a very clinical audit. My thinking is what kind of procurement process did they follow? I think you just answered it. Did you say single sourcing?
Precisely.
Now, are we surprised? On what basis did they do a single source for this? In this country, we don't have people who supply phones that you can get at a good, prudent cost, modest cost. This is not acceptable. We need to find out who leads the internal processes in BOST, because for all you know, if in the first year they made some sense of a break even, they are buying 15,000 Ghana cedi phones. Can you imagine what will happen next?
Okay, but it's a bigger conversation about some of these state agencies that are deemed to be quote-unquote lucrative, right? BOST, VRA, the story goes on and on. I don't want to mention the others. There's this perception about some of these state agencies that we need to deal with. You agree?
Well, yes, I, well, I don't know about VRE. I thought that VRE usually, I mean, the part of the groups that you have a lot of professionals there doing
Okay.
work. It's only when you get into the oil and gas and other
Sector.
spaces that there's a lot of things going on that you can't wrap your mind around. I mean, uh, BOST, I mean, this is not the first time they've
Yeah.
gathered negative press, coverage, simply because the decision making at a management level, you are wondering what is going on. In my mind, I think that perhaps we should start looking at all boards because, I mean, it seems to me that people are taking advantage of the various systems we have. Uh, and I'm wondering, is it that management felt that, okay, this is our board, if we don't make them feel cozy and fine, our own jobs may be on the line? I'm just wondering. So perhaps we should be looking much more at what's happening at the board level. Because how did that decision get taken? And why would anybody spend this kind of money? How come nobody recognized that the state of the economy of Ghana means that people would not expect us to do this and still went ahead with it? I think that those are questions. And therefore, from that sense, any other state entity that has boards, let's take a look at what are the boards doing, what kind of purchases are going on, what kind of travel is going on, what kind of perks are we giving them, how is the public purse being protected? Because if the people at the board themselves are just interested in their own perks, it is going to trickle down through management to staff, and perhaps that's where you're going to have very huge bills and costs to the nation. And then we seem to always be, in a situation where we are trying to look for additional resources to run the economy. So yes, let's take a closer look at what is happening at the boards in this country.
And the kind of public reaction and sentiment we're getting on this matter is why, of course, we're having that conversation with you. Justified? Lots of comments, backlash against BOST.
I mean, people are struggling. I mean, you can buy fuel these days, and that's where they are.
Yeah.
We haven't resolved the fact that we have oil that is being dug in this country. We have a boss that's supposed to be refining it. We don't seem to have made good use of this particular entity ever since it was created. The first time they seem to have gotten somewhere, they say they are buying iPhones. I mean, come on. You're wondering whether we elected people to just, I don't know, I don't know what word to use. I'm just trying to be diplomatic. But honestly speaking, an outcry perhaps is not even enough. Perhaps we should be on the streets asking ourselves what are our leaders doing. Perhaps we do need that incisive look at cross-board, not just BOST. What is happening? How much money is being taken away from the public purse for people's personal perks that have nothing, absolutely nothing to do with the public good? Perhaps when we start to plug those holes and insist that this must stop, we will then be able to save the kind of money that moves this nation forward, and all the holes we are seeing in the roads and the difficulties we are having, we can begin to resolve them in a more comprehensive way.
I see. But finally, touching on good governance, the CEOs fighting the issues of corruption. There's been one central theme over the period: the need to pass that public officers, the conduct of public officers bill, which you believe will tackle some of these issues. Is that directly related to, for instance, some of the happenings at BOST? How will such a piece of legislation tackle all of these concerns that the general public have? Adam? Okay. We seem to have lost Adam Senanu there, but I was just about asking about the Code of Conduct for Public Officers bill, which the anti-corruption agencies have been very much keen on. But the latest, I'm sure many of you have learnt on social media, is about this Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation Limited, the state-owned enterprise, buying 18 iPhones for staff at a cost that many believe is outrageous, and it's the reason for which we're having that conversation with Adam Senano. But you're watching the Pulse here on the Joy News channel. When we get back, we'll talk about the protest which is about to hit the country in the next 24 hours. We'll talk about that. Plus, look at the long queues remaining at the district offices of the Electoral Commission. Long queues, even just about 5 hours to the close of that exercise. We'll tell you more about it when we get back. Please stay.